Whether we like it or not, hardened criminals, assassins, gang lords, and dangerous thieves are out there roaming our streets. We're always taught to stay away from these dangerous types. Unless you're a cop, keep your distance. Apparently, a select handful of homemade heroes never got the memo, because these everyday folk have morphed themselves into real-life superheroes and have taken crime fighting into their own hands. Like the Batmans and Supermans that we see in the movies, some of these vigilantes do indeed pull on skin-tight costumes and wear masks. More commonly, however, they prefer to blend into the background, subtly eradicating crime, be it petty crime or substantial illegal activity. This guy might look little more than a Comic-Con wannabe, but Phoenix Jones is no joke. Taking to the streets of Seattle, Phoenix Jones, or Benjamin Francis Fodor if you ask his real name, has created his very own superhero costume in the effort to minimize crime in his local neighborhood. He was inspired to create this masked alter ego after his car was broken into, and to his shock, not a single bystander tried to intervene. And so, thus began the formation of a Seattle-based group of costumed characters known as the Rain City Superheroes, of which Phoenix Jones was the leader. The group was dissolved in 2014, but Phoenix has kept on his merry way, serving as a real-world vigilante ever since. Before we nosedive into the world of Crime Stoppers, let's get a better idea of what defines a vigilante in the first place. Batman is a vigilante. Spider-Man is a vigilante. Most superheroes you see in comic books or on the big screen are vigilantes. They take the law into their own hands, forgetting about the legal system, and go out and fight crime on their own accord. They'll often bend the rules, creating their own definition of justice, a definition that often isn't totally agreed with by society, certainly not law enforcement. Jones is a self-proclaimed superhero. He sports an armor-plated superhero costume, mask and all. Not that he necessarily needs it, because he's an active MMA fighter and can hold his own in a tussle. Alas, as movies have shown us time and time again, it doesn't take much for some heroes to become villains. Jones and his girlfriend were alleged to have been involved in illicit substance selling schemes in early 2020. The Jester is a vigilante of a different kind. While Phoenix Jones patrols the streets, the Jester patrols the online world, aiming to expose anything he considers threatening to the United States. This digital crime stopper first gained recognition when he began trolling jihadist websites. According to the internet superhero, he has single-handedly taken down dozens of sites that he deemed supported jihadist propaganda and recruitment efforts. How many exactly? He stopped counting at 179. In 2016, his hacking exploits were taken to another level when he broke into the website of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and splashed this message on their homepage. Comrades, we interrupt regular scheduled Russian Foreign Affairs website programming to bring you the following important message. Knock it off. You may be able to push around the nations around you, but this is America. Nobody is impressed. After this stunt, his notoriety increased tenfold, garnering him the nickname of the Batman of the Internet. Observers have suspected that the FBI looks the other way when it comes to the Jester's hacking because they like what he does. However, many believe Jester should just quit while he's ahead. Why? Well, as Harvey Dent puts it,
you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
The Jester isn't the only so-called Batman taking the law into his own hands for the purpose of the greater good. Well, in their eyes at least. In Petoskey, Michigan, a man named Mark Wayne Williams has donned his own mask and has taken it upon himself to patrol the local streets every night, dressed, of course, as Batman. We're talking mask, cape, and utility belt stocked with self-defense spray, a baton-style weapon, and other illegal items. Really, the whole works. Even though Mark's been hoping to make a positive impact, his actions haven't echoed his intention. Williams has been arrested several times, including once after police were dispatched to rescue a man dressed as Batman dangling from the roof of a building. Over his tenure as an unlawful crime fighter, Mark has been charged with resisting and obstructing an officer and has also been sentenced to 6 months probation. The assassination of former President John F. Kennedy is one of the most notable political crime acts in American history. On November 22, 1963, President Kennedy was fatally shot while riding in an open-car motorcade through the streets of downtown Dallas. The alleged shooter was a man named Lee Harvey Oswald. 2 days later, Oswald had been caught and was brought to the basement of the Dallas police headquarters. That's when Jack Ruby, the infamous nightclub owner turned vigilante, came into the picture. Ruby didn't want to wear a cape or propagate nonsense. He was simply swept up in the rage of the Kennedy assassination and wanted to bring the shooter to justice. So, ignoring every protocol of the law, while Oswald was being moved into the Dallas headquarters, Jack Ruby emerged from the crowd and fatally wounded Oswald with a single shot from a concealed revolver. Even though some would call Ruby a hero, he was still charged with first-degree murder, receiving the maximum sentence. Who here recognizes this mask? It's the face of Anonymous, behind which hides a number of computer-savvy hacktivists. Computer-savvy what? Hacktivist. It's a combination of hacker and activist, under which groups like Anonymous use tech and computer knowledge to protest against various issues or injustices. Anonymous has been attracting notoriety in the online community for years and has succeeded in garnering worldwide attention for specific causes, or other times just for fun. But just to be clear, Anonymous is not a well-defined group of computer hackers. It's not a bunch of buddies sitting together in a teched-out garage. It's more so considered as a subculture and a mechanism for anybody with the ability and the attitude to make a change by spreading information online. Therefore, Anonymous cannot be caught by police, because it's not one person, but countless. Over the past couple of decades, Anonymous has taken down the website of white supremacist radio show host Hal Turner, has commenced Operation Darknet, which we won't get too much into, has defaced 2 Ugandan government sites in protest of some of the country's intolerant laws, and has even attempted to force controversial North Korea leader Kim Jong-un to resign. Translating to Black Shadow in Spanish, the Sombra Negro represents a group of vigilantes in El Salvador that targets criminals and gang members all in the name of vigilante justice. The group is allegedly composed mostly of police and military personnel. A brave bunch, clearly, as they decide to take it upon themselves to attempt to take down one of the most powerful criminal enterprises in the region, the Mara Salvatrucha, otherwise known as MS-13. MS-13 is no petty crime gang. We don't know that much about the Sombra Negra, but we do know that their justice techniques, so to speak, are violent and unforgiving, and certainly illegal. La Sombra Negra isn't a new vigilante group by any means. They've been around since the 90s in the wake of El Salvador's civil war. It's not often that rough gang members are intimidated by other groups, but that's exactly the case with the Black Shadow. How's this for a resume? Former Army Special Forces soldier, former founder of a counter-terrorism training company, and former secret agent tasked with sneaking into Afghanistan during a peak time of conflict. All those experiences and more belonged to Jonathan Jack Adema, a man who used his elite skill set for all the wrong or right reasons, depending on who you ask. Despite being utterly against local and international law, Jack set up his own private jail in Afghanistan and used it as a location to interrogate people that he suspected of terror crimes. Not all of his missions were successful, though. One captured so-called crook was released merely a week after Jack gave him up to the U.S. forces, posing the question, was Jack capturing the right people? With an estimated population of over 8.5 million people, New York City welcomes people from every walk of life, including every type of petty and serious criminal that you can draw up. Thankfully, the New York residents can turn to the Guardian Angels for protection. Formed in the early 1970s by Curtis Sliwa, former anti-crime activist and current radio host, the Guardian Angels, yes, that is their real name, are identified by their red berets and do-good attitude. Curtis originally trained the Angels to patrol the streets and subway cars and to make citizens' arrests when they saw violent crimes about to happen. They were particularly prominent on the 24-hour subway system, which sees more bizarre things than any non-local could imagine. The Vigilantes group's success has seen it expand internationally, with operational chapters now in countries like Canada, Mexico, Italy, and Japan. Meanwhile, down in Brisbane, Australia, a real-life replica of the cult American film superhero Kick-Ass was patrolling the streets in the early 2010s, attempting to rid the city of hooligans. By day, he's a middle-aged father of 2, but by night, he dresses in green and gold and calls himself Captain Australia as he patrols Brisbane's sketchier neighborhoods. Even though Captain Australia refuses to reveal his secret identity, his work did not go unnoticed. Among his unselfish acts, Captain Australia was able to intervene before a nighttime assault could take place, scaring off the predator. Unfortunately, one of Captain Australia's kids fell sick in 2012, so he's been forced to hang up the cape, for now. Thanks to this awesome cartoon, though, we can relive his heroic antics for as long as we want. From one captain to another, please welcome the one and only, uniquely named and rather bizarre former real-world superhero, Captain Sticky. Real name Richard Pesta, Captain Sticky was known for driving around in a customized bubble-topped Lincoln Continental that he called the Sticky Mobile. Built into the car were hidden weapons disguised right beside the car's headlights. They weren't automatic pistols, burning lasers, or anything of that destructive nature. In reality, they were typical toy store-bought water guns, filled to the brim with, ready for this, household condiments. One was filled with peanut butter and the other with jelly. With this intimidating arsenal, Captain Sticky would launch globs of edible warnings at kids that he would come across late at night who were running amok around the town. Now it's time for you to join in on the fun. What would be your superhero name, and what would your secret weapon be? Let us know in the comments.